It's been a miserable couple of weeks for Spurs, of course, which all came to a head with that 2-1 defeat against Inter Milan. Reports in the UK newspapers saying that the players are exhausted, complaining of the relentless training regime of Pochettino. You think 12 of those players made it to the semi-finals of the World Cup. Are you buying this, Robbo? They're just tired?
I think there's a bit of tiredness in one or two of the players, particularly Harry Kane. But these are the same players that have trained with the same manager for many seasons now, 3 seasons probably, some of those players. And I know somebody that's been down to the training ground on 2 or 3 occasions when he's been commentating on games, Spurs games on the Thursday. And he's saying that the players love the training. They do 2 sessions. They're quite intense sessions, but they've done this for quite some while. And the players have got no complaints about it. It's just the performances haven't quite been good enough at the moment. And I would say the one player that looks really tired or sluggish or lacking confidence is Harry Kane. 1 or 2 of the other players played, I thought, quite well against Inter. It wasn't their worst display. They just came unstuck right at the end of the game.
Pochettino, Stevie, said it was his best display, and I don't think any of us are buying that. Are you buying this fatigue excuse?
I'm going to buy it a little bit, yes. I would suggest that there is a little fatigue involved, particularly with somebody like Harry Kane. I would also suggest that Pochettino needs to figure out what his best 11 is and stick to it.
Yeah.
Because when you give players an excuse, they'll find one. And that's pretty much what's happening now. Because they're getting bad results, everybody's trying to figure out what the problem is, and they've decided right now that it's fatigue. I would suggest that Pochettino needs to get an 11 and stick with it for a spell.
Why does he keep rotating, Robbo? He does this, and he's done it in the past in the Champions League, and it's bitten him in the bum, didn't he, when he couldn't get out of the great group stages a couple of seasons ago? He just doesn't seem to be able to help himself.
Well, it wasn't just the Champions League. Against Liverpool, he started with a different system. He changed the system at half-time. Dyer continually changed from being a right-sided centre-half to being a midfield player. He then changed again, and he played with 3 up front rather than the 2 up front, which he started with. And I watched the game against Liverpool, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, the players look confused. It looks as though Pochettino was muddled by the end of the game, and Liverpool just stuck with their system. Klopp played the same players. He played with the same system. They knew what they were doing. Spurs, who have been so good over the last 2 or 3 years, didn't seem to know what they were trying to do. And Eric Dyer is at the heart of it. He's not sure whether he's a midfield player, whether he's a centre-half, a midfield player that has to go back in between his centre-halves, whether he's a midfield player that goes onto the right-hand side of a back 3. Trippier's not sure whether he's a wing-back or a normal full-back. That's the problem that Spurs have got at the moment, I think.
We were speaking yesterday, Robbo, and Shaka suggested that it did make a difference that Pep Guardiola wasn't on the touchline. Obviously, he was suspended for this game. What's your take on this argument that having Arteta there instead of Guardiola did indeed affect the result?
I think it can affect the result. When he's on the sidelines, Guardiola, he's going to make quick decisions. He's going to maybe talk to 1 or 2 players. He can change the tactics pretty quickly. He can see where the opposition are causing them a problem. He can see where he can cause the opposition a problem. And I just look at the body language of Arteta. If you're the assistant manager, you feel all the pressure on you when you become the manager for the game, the head coach for that game. I've been in that situation. Suddenly all eyes are on you. Every time a goal goes in against you or the opposition get a bit of space, everybody's looking at you. What are you going to do about it? And I think Arteta froze almost. The players will defend him. The players will say it had no reflection on, or no, it didn't really affect the result. But I think it did. Arteta, we talked about him not having the experience to go to Arsenal. I don't think he's got the experience to be the assistant coach and be the head coach on a game when Guardiola's not in charge.
It doesn't matter who's on the sideline when the gaffer's sitting in the stand. It really doesn't matter. You could pick somebody off the street and tell them to sit there, because every single time I've been involved in a team that's not had the manager, and I'm talking not just in games, but in training, there's something psychologically that happens, and everybody lets down a bit. Right. The intensity drops. And it's one of those things that you just can't explain. But it happens, and it happens time and time again. And to say that that's the reason they got beat wouldn't really be correct. I mean, you talk about being unfortunate. I mean, Leon scored 2 goals, of which Manchester City were absolutely at fault. Manchester City missed chances again, like they've been doing all season. So it's not just down to that, but it happens to every single team that's involved in a situation like that.
Meanwhile, Shaq, City have got a problem. They made these tickets really cheap. We're talking like $20 for the 3 Champions League matches, $60 in total. Yet they are still not filling this stadium. And you think an hour up the road, the atmosphere at Anfield, you know, City fans, you know, they get angry when you bring this up, but it is a fact that they cannot fill the stadium on a Champions League night. And inevitably, surely that affects the play, doesn't it?
I think it does. And I just wonder if there's a changing almost in Manchester City's own positioning in the city and in the league. Years gone by when Manchester United were dominating the Premier League, the talk was Manchester City was the club supported by Mancunians. But now the money's come in and success has come, and now there's almost an expectation that we are going to win, and the fans who would normally support this club through thick and thin and have done for all those years are now only prepared to show up for the big games. And we can't put it down to ticket prices, as you rightly mentioned. And I think there's almost a confusion in how this club is positioning itself in the community and in the league. And it's not a good place to be. As good as things are on the field, there is still real value to players in playing in front of a full house, in front of the kinds of atmospheres that you showed at Anfield.
Let's reflect on Tuesday's game between Liverpool and PSG. Liverpool with a great win at Anfield. I think it's hard to argue that they didn't deserve it. However, Mr. Tuchel decides that maybe, in fact, they didn't. Maybe the score didn't tell the story of the game. Right at the end, we had the chance with Julian Draxler that could have won it before Liverpool scored. For me, the result was not logical or correct. Stuart Robson, there's no way he can believe that, can he, from the second half performance he saw from his side?
Yeah, I think he was watching a different game, and I think he got it wrong tactically. His side didn't play particularly well. Liverpool were excellent. They closed the ball down. They played at a tempo that PSG didn't like. Liverpool always had an easy ball out to Alexander-Arnold. You know, Van Dijk could just keep chipping it out there. He never changed that. Neymar was never going to chase back. The midfield player, Di Maria, was never going to get out there and stop crosses coming into the box. I thought Liverpool were outstanding. They were unlucky to concede the second goal. Not a good pass from Salah, and from that moment on, the counter-attack was on. I thought they defended well. Mbappe, as good a player as he is, as much pace as he is, didn't play intelligent. He kept on trying to run in behind, and Robertson and Van Dijk just kept on backing off. So there was no space for him to run into. So he should have been stopping, getting the ball to his feet, and then trying to run at them. I thought Liverpool were excellent. I was disappointed with PSG.
That's it, isn't it? As much as credit you want to give Liverpool, and I understand that, Stevie, but PSG.
Yeah. I don't know where Tuchel's coming from. You know, we hear all this stuff when he was at Dortmund, how tactically fantastic he was. But you start Di Maria against Liverpool, you know, and we all know what Liverpool are now. You don't need to be a football manager to figure out that Liverpool, particularly in the middle of the field, are all energy, closing the ball down, trying to get the ball to the front three and getting at you. So why do you play a guy like Di Maria? It makes no sense. And if ever the excuse, or not the excuse, but we keep saying on this programme, certainly I do, that you cannot play Ligue 1 week in and week out, and then all of a sudden come up against a team like Liverpool and expect to be physically and mentally ready for it. Because particularly the midfield and particularly the defence of PSG, they, every other Saturday or Sunday, whenever they play, have got big fat cigars in their mouth. It's a stroll in the park. So you can't expect to turn up at Anfield and be physically and emotionally ready for it. And you certainly can't be expected to be ready for it when you play a guy like Di Maria in the middle of the park.
Meanwhile, Robert, you look at Neymar, you would expect him to play like someone with a point to prove. He didn't really prove anything, did he?
No, he started the game quite well. He had a couple of runs across the field and then tried to play a little reverse pass into the front players. But after that, I think Henderson got out after him a couple of times and he didn't fancy it at times. He certainly didn't recover. It was so easily for Liverpool to keep playing the ball out to Alexander-Arnold, and they were almost playing with 10 men at times until they got the ball. Neymar then went into a sort of second centre-forward position, but I thought he was very poor. His attitude was poor. He didn't affect the game, and he was a major problem for PSG.
Meanwhile, Stephen, a word on Liverpool. I imagine you were rather excited when Firmino scored the winner.
Yes, I'd have to say I was. Had a big smile on my face. As I said earlier, you know, what we're seeing from Liverpool now is regardless of the competition, this is what Liverpool's all about. It's all about energy. It's all about making chances. Listen, at some stage they're going to put more chances away because had they finished off some chances they had earlier in the game. This game would have been dead and buried anyway. But you know what? It's just great to watch. Can't take your eyes off her.
Inevitably will be asked between now and the ceremony, who should win it? Isco came out and said Luka Modric deserves the Ballon d'Or. He's a unique player. Now, this has been the rhetoric very much from pretty much all the Real Madrid players. However, Casemiro went slightly against the grain, saying Luka's year has been phenomenal, but I would give the Ballon d'Or to Cristiano for his merits over the last year. Sid, did Casemiro not get the memo? What's going on?
It does feel like that, doesn't it? Because there's been a very, very clear shift. Obviously, in Madrid over the last 3 or 4 years, every year they've been campaigning for Ronaldo to win the award. The Real Madrid fans have been chanting his name. And in this game, for example, there were chants of Luquita Ballon d'Oro when Luka Modric had, I can't remember if he just had a shot or just, that was the chance from Isco, and everybody was very much on his side. And I think that's partly because obviously they want it to be one of their players that win it. But it also feels like there's an attempt, I think, collectively, both at institutional level and also at dressing room level, to try and kind of make a statement that says, we're still great players. We didn't only win because of Cristiano Ronaldo. And perhaps Casemiro is the one person saying, well, hang on. Just because he's gone, let's not wipe out his memory here.
Time for Shaka's power rankings. Shaka.
I gave Leon a whole lot of love. Despite, well, relative struggles in league. You beat Manchester City. That's enough to get you in the top 10 for at least a week.
City out.
I punished PSG for a dour showing. Dortmund are in. Galatasaray, who've gotten up to a good start domestically and in Europe. And then the rest as you'd fully expect. There's no argument with that. For the first time in history, there is no comment from Thomas or Nickel.
I'm trying to find something wrong with it.
I think chucking Manchester City completely out of the top 10 is harsh, isn't it?
Galatasaray.
They're top in Turkey.
Hold on a second. What has top in Turkey ever done with the
Well, they started their season top of the league, won their Champions League game.
Should have chucked PSG out just for being rubbish.
Thank you very much.
Shaka and Stevie, put your arms down. Hello, welcome to Extra Time, everybody. What are you up to?
Hi, welcome.
Doing Bruce Forsyth.
Oh, were you?
Aye.
That's nice. Really focusing on our demographic there.
What?
No one knows who Bruce Forsyth is.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, you said nobody knows. You do.
Well, out there.
That makes 2 of us already.
Out there.
Oh, where?
Out there.
Out there.
Out where?
Sid will know.
Outside the building.
Sid, you know Bruce Forsyth?
Yeah, nice to see you.
To see you,
Hey,
nice.
we've come a long way.
We've
Come a long way from 10 seconds ago when you went, nobody will know who that is. There's 3 of us straight away. Jack. 4.
Oh, that's it. All right, I'm completely wrong. Everybody knows him. I apologise, Steve Nicol. Welcome back for your holiday as well. Where did you go? Anywhere nice?
Holiday. I went babysitting.
Oh, lovely.
Babysat.
Where's that?
It was fantastic.
Where's
No, I
that?
know.
Everybody out there knows that. I was babysitting for my son and his wife.
Oh,
The baby.
What a lovely granddad.
what a
6
lovely
days.
thing to do.
And he did it for free as well.
You did that for free?
Oh, of course it
It probably cost you a little bit.
Can I bring my kids round sometime?
We can bring her out to my house, as long as I don't have to go to yours.
What was Stevie's reaction to Firmino's winner against PSG?
I'm sure you can imagine. I was rather happy.
Did you get off the couch?
Aye, absolutely.
You beauty,
Yes.
punching.
Yes.
Yes.
All of
I
that.
think it's a good idea. Were you here that day?
With the
The Liverpool game.
It wasn't working though.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
well,
He was on
PSG
holiday.
game.
You were
still on holiday.
I was babysitting.
Last time you
You
were
were
here.
at work, were you?
Last
Sitting
time
in
you
a
were
house
here.
for 5 days can hardly be called a holiday.
Well, it's your choice. You had time off. It's a holiday.
I didn't have a choice.
Who told you to have?
My wife told me I was going where.
Who told you to have grandkids?
Hey.
Who told you to have grandkids?
Hey.
Wow.
I said I wasn't going, so we compromised. So I went.
Shaka.
Yeah.
Does rotation of a goalkeeper in a team hurt or benefit the side? For example, Navas and Courtois.
Hurt, in my opinion and experience. I think goalkeepers need to know who's number 1 and that every error or slip up, wherever it may be, is not going to cost them.
Sid, what's the talk in the town of Madrid regarding this?
Look at the town.
Well, obviously, bear in mind that this isn't entirely new. So I think that's the key element of this. This has happened before, of course, with Iker Casillas in the past. It's happened as well at Barcelona when they won the treble, in fact, with their 2 goalkeepers that season. So in that sense, it's not quite such a kind of surprise. But I think people were slightly surprised when Navas was included yesterday. I think the assumption now is that that will happen for the rest of the season. And, of course, this is because Lopetegui has inherited a situation that he didn't really want and that no one really expected. When they signed Courtois, they thought that after 3 years of trying to sign a second goalkeeper, Navas would eventually say, all right, OK, I'll take the hint, I'm going to go. And he made that fantastic comment where he said, I am more keen on dying than I am on leaving Real Madrid. So he's hanging around, and I think there's a sense of justice, a sense that they have to give him an opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good option to stay then.
He is keen, isn't he?
It's very
drastic, isn't it?
I know, I like it. Have you ever come close to scoring a goal, Shaka?
Yeah, once.
Tell us it.
West Ham away to Spurs. Went 1-0 down. I wasn't going up, but Pardew told me go up. Corner was coming straight for me. I didn't know what to do. And then, thankfully, it went just over my head, but it was that close to me that everybody thought I was going to get it.
Right.
So, Robinson was in goal, and all these Spurs defenders kind of came right where I was.
Right.
And Anton Ferdinand just tapped it in far post. So, see, I give them the old, and then...
You were the distraction.
That's
decoy.
right.
Wow.
It's called the
right.
decoy or dummy.
Oh, I've been called that a few times.
Shaka, all these questions for you today. We know you're a big fan of Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Him or Kanye West?
Oh,
What? That's a serious question?
It seems to be from Reza.
even I could answer that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Stephen.
Jay-Z all day long. Kanye West.
Where do you stand on this, Sid Lowe?
There's no this. Jay-Z and Kanye West, there's no this.
Right.
I just want to follow Steve. I just want to follow Steve on this because his conviction was so strong that he must be right.
I'm a bit of a buff myself, you know, well, music.
Absolutely.
Hazard was rested, but the rest of the Chelsea's strongest team played tonight. They have 2 days until the next game. Slip up incoming. Why do people do this in the Europa League?
What?
No one ever mentions Champions League and rest, but they always mention Europa League and rest. Yet if you play on a Wednesday and a Saturday, it's exactly the same as playing Thursday and a Sunday.
Oh no, because it's a Wednesday. Saturday. Get it?
What? I never get this.
Me neither. I don't know where people are coming from.
No.
Yeah, that was a good point. Producer just said Chelsea go to West Ham, and it's not the world's hardest trip. West Ham, right now.
Well, it's a long way from Chelsea.
Yeah. So if there's one place I want to be going, you know, West Ham won on the weekend. See that?
Yes, yeah, working soccer shack.
You're going to be in my top 10.
That's it. Stevie, nice to have you back from your holiday.
Liar.
I hear you have a nice
Look at him smiling.
post box.
Hey?
I'm going to go out by myself.
Oh, don't start. Well, I need to find out. Someone's got to tell me how much is a proper post box with laminated
A mailbox.
inscription in it. How much does it cost? Because the
Does it
wife
say the
won't tell me.
nickels on it?
Oh yeah, it's got the right name on it. Aye. So somebody's got to tell me because the wife
So
won't
hold on.
tell me how much she paid
If you
for it.
move-
So that means
If
it
you
would be
move
cheap.
house, you're going to have to get another mailbox because you can't.
I'm not moving. Don't worry.
Because of the mailbox.
However,
Correct.
this is a good advance for Stevie because there was an occasion, I believe, last year when we all went out where Stevie didn't know his address.
That's correct. Yes, I do recall. I do recall. Now everybody will know your address.
I got the two numbers the wrong way around. Yeah. I knew the numbers said, I just got them the wrong way around. Hey, it's an easy mistake. It's a very easy mistake to make.
Had you lived there a long? Had you lived there a long time? I mean, was this a new house? I mean,
About 3 years.
you see, I can just about this. And this happens in a hotel. You know, you get back to the hotel and go, "Oh, which room was I in?" But not your
I've done
house.
that
Come
one,
on.
Yeah, I'm very experienced in this area.
It's all right, Shaka saved the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you have to ring Mrs.
Well, it's the
Nichols
first
whilst
time
you
for
were
everything,
dressed?
We
isn't
had
it?
to ask Mrs. Yeah, we did.
Hold on. That's not true.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Look, I guess that explains what kind of evening it was.
You kept telling the driver. Kept telling the driver your street. Didn't even know what town.
Now you're stretching it.
Daniel.
I wasn't there.
Now, come on, now you're stretching.
To be honest, I believe Shaka over you in this instance.
There's no way I forgot I lived in...
That town.
The town with a nice new name.
Just look for the mailbox.
That's it. We are done. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Extra time is back tomorrow.
Everyone's talking about Cristiano Ronaldo's red card in Juventus' game against Valencia in the Champions League. So Stevie Nicol is in. But Stevie, let's take it from a different angle, because our good friend and colleague Mark Ogden has written an article saying Ronaldo only has himself to blame. This is what he says. Maybe this is a timely lesson for him. He's still a game changer and ruthless finisher, but he can't do what he did at 25. And if he just accepts that and remodels his game accordingly and cut out the petulance, then that is what will cost him dearly. What do you think, Stevie?
Listen, when you get older, and it's basically a physical thing, you can't do what you did previously. As he says there, you know, you're not always going to be 25. And what you saw with that petulance from Ronaldo in the Champions League is a frustration of him not being able to do what he did when he was 25. And it comes out in all different ways. You know, if he doesn't get a pass, he'll throw his arms in the air and complain.
But this is the Ronaldo we've always seen. Do you see it more now where it's actually harming him more?
I think it, not only does it harm him, I think when you act like that on the field, it gets up your teammates' nose, basically. You know, the first words out of your mouth are, who does he think he is? Now, everybody in his team knows how great he is, and the fact that he's in their team means they will do well, but it still irks at you. So he has to overcome that frustration and realise what he can do and stick to that.
Well, he says if he changes his game accordingly, if you could advise the Cristiano Ronaldo, how should he change his game? Because his game is what makes him Cristiano Ronaldo. The passion, the so-called petulance, and these kind of fits that we see are what make Cristiano Ronaldo.
It's accepting that what you can do. I keep talking about what you can and can't do. It's accepting what you can do more than anything. And he has to accept that what he can do now is be in and around that final third and get in the box and put the ball in the back of the net. And as soon as he accepts that's what his role is going to be, then he'll calm down. The frustration will go, and he'll understand that it's not about going wide and doing scissors and going past defenders, because he can't do that anymore the way he used to. As soon as he accepts what his role is, and I believe his role is through the middle now, he has to be the goal scorer who's at the point of everything. And if he can accept that, then we'll see a different Ronaldo. We'll see a Ronaldo who will not get so frustrated and won't inevitably end up getting sent off the way he did the other night.
All right, thanks so much. Take it from someone who's been there and done that, Stevie. Didn't you have to accept things at some point?
It is. It's very difficult, and you're the last person to notice that you're on the wane. That's the tough part.
And that is definitely clearly the tough part for Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, we'll continue tracking this story here at ESPN FC. Stevie Nicol is my challenger this weekend as we tackle Serie A Predictus, Stevie. Okay. Let's start off with Sampdoria, Inter Milan. I'm
going to go for a Sampdoria win. They made a great start. I think Inter will have a bit of an emotional letdown from the Champions League during the week. I'm going to go for a Sampdoria win.
You see, I keep putting all my eggs in the Inter basket. I have been somewhat disappointed, not in the Champions League. Sampdoria with a 5-0 win last weekend. So I'm going to go for a draw in this one because they're at home. But I still expect something from Inter. Napoli travelling to Torino.
Has to be Napoli. Particularly after the disappointment during the week with the Champions League. They'll be champing at the bit to get back after it. So I think Torino just don't have enough. Napoli are going to be the victors.
And who am I to argue with you, Stevie Nicol? I'm going with Carlo Ancelotti and his men in this one too. Bologna against Roma.
I am going to reluctantly say Roma wins this game because
they're not giving us much to work with.
They're so disappointing this season, not just in Serie A but in the Champions League as well. But I just think they've got too much for Bologna, who are pretty average. It's about time. Come on, Roma, I'm going to go for you this time.
I'm going to go for Roma as well, just because I'm hoping something finally does click for them too. AC Milan, Atalanta.
Yeah, not much between these two teams. Pretty close in the standings as well. I think the deciding factor is going to be AC Milan at home at San Siro. So AC Milan it is over Atalanta.
I'm going to go with AC Milan as well, purely for that fact, like you said, they will be at home in this one. Frosinone, who got absolutely spanked by Sampdoria in that match last weekend, up against Juventus. Doesn't get any easier.
Well, Ronaldo will be back on the field, and he will be an angry man. And I think we can see Frosinone paying for that, what happened to Ronaldo during the week. So, no question, this has to be a UE victory.
I can't believe I went for a draw for Juventus last weekend. They definitely proved me wrong. Cristiano Ronaldo proved me right. And I think that he will continue to do that this weekend. Thanks so much to Stevie Nicol. Continue tracking the Serie A here at ESPN FC. Stevie Nichol's back after some much-needed time off. Just in time to go into the deep end. Premier League predictor once again. Stevie, let's start off with Fulham Watford.
I'm going to go for a Fulham win. I think Fulham's majority of points are going to be at home. I think Watford's bubble may have burst. Fulham it is.
I'm going to go for a draw on this one, Stevie, because I think we cannot count out Watford. They definitely are dangerous, but so can Fulham at home. Burnley, Bournemouth.
Burnley have to win. I'm sure they're glad it's Bournemouth. Questionable away from home, in my opinion. I'm going for a home victory at last.
I will go for a home victory as well for Burnley, just because I do like seeing them do well. Cardiff City, Man City, is there any case you can make for them? No, you can't. Neither can I. Sorry, Cardiff. Sorry, Cardiff. It's really just how many are City going to score in this one. Crystal Palace at home against Newcastle.
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace will just have too much for Newcastle. Newcastle, they'll always stick at it, but they're not good enough going forward, in my opinion. I think this is a home victory for Crystal Palace.
I like me Palace at home, so I'm definitely going to go with them as well. Leicester City, Huddersfield.
Again, Huddersfield, who's scoring the next goal? Leicester at home will score, that'll be enough. Leicester it is.
I'm going to go with the Foxes as well, Stevie.
Good choice.
Good choice indeed. All right, let's move on now. I knew you were going to go for it. Cannot even make a case for Southampton at Anfield. And again, sorry, Saints, neither can I. But if you want to pull off the upset, go right ahead. Manchester United, Wolves.
I think this will be the best game of the weekend. Wolves will respect United, but will not be scared. They love to go forward. They can upset United, but I think this is going to be a draw.
A draw, Stevie. Well, I'm going to go for a win for the Red Devils. I think there's a bit more momentum there now after the last two results, so I'm going to go with them. Brighton against Spurs, and embattled Spurs.
I'm going for another draw. Spurs, you just don't trust them right now. And Brighton at home, Stuffy will stick at it and don't give much away at home, so a draw.
A draw, indeed. I like that little... You kind of wanted to go for Spurs. So do I, but like what you said, 3 losses in a row for Spurs. Something's just not quite clicking. Brighton at home, I'm going to leave it. Oh, what about this one? West Ham, Chelsea.
Unfortunately for West Ham, having won last weekend, they're coming against a Chelsea side who are just getting better and better. As is Eden Hazard, I can only see a Chelsea victory.
Yep, that is all I can see as well, Stevie. And finally, Arsenal-Everton.
I'm going to go for another draw. Again, I don't really trust Arsenal. Everton, I think, are going to get some players back from last weekend. And that means to me, it's got draw written all over it.
I'm going to go with the Gunners because I'm just so tired of seeing Paul Mariner crying at the weekend. So I'm going to go with the Gunners in this one. It's not good for his health. Thanks so much to Stevie Nicol for joining me on this one. Continue tracking all the action from the Premier League this weekend right here.
The second edition, meanwhile, of the brand new Serie A Awesome podcast is now available to listen to. Here's a little taster. Paolo talking about Ronaldo. Keep an eye on Gav's face.
The more I saw the replay, the more I could find a way that you can make it a red card. I mean, he does scratch at his head in a way that's you know, some referees could look at and go, okay, he's pulled his hair. I don't think it should have been a red card.
I love Gab raising the eyebrow like that. Serie A kicks off on Friday, so Swallow taking on Empoli. Meanwhile, Sampdoria against into the big game on Saturday. Meanwhile, Juve looking to continue their 100% start to the season on Sunday away against Frosinone.